Emily is 89 years old. She has lived a wonderful life. She's an amazing matriarch for our family. She's raised 7 wonderful children, or maybe 6. We're still trying to decide about me, but she's always prided herself on being very prepared for whatever may come, and she's done a great job with it. Well, Wednesday morning came and the water got shut off unexpectedly for the day, and Mom found herself scrambling just a little bit. It goes to show that even the best of us, even though we may think we're completely prepared, might find ourselves a little bit caught off guard. So what would you do if you were in this situation? Hey, Provident Preppers, I'm Jonathan, and this is my mother, Emily. And Wednesday morning, you woke up to no water. Something that none of us want to have happen. No notice, just no water. Tell us what happened.
Well, I needed to wash my hands, and I turned the tap, and there was no water. And I thought, what's going on? So I grabbed my phone and tried to see if I'd missed a notification from the city. And they had notified me at 5:30 that morning that there would be no water. And I thought, and that it probably wouldn't come on until late afternoon. And I thought, how can I live without any water? Then I thought, you know what? I've got 2 5-gallon jugs down the basement. I can't lift a 5-gallon jug. But I did remember that I had taken some of those soft soap jars that you get hand soap in and just filled them with water. And I ran out and got one of those, and it had just enough soap that I could wash my hands. I also remembered that I had stored water in like vinegar jars, any 1-gallon container, just to use to flush the toilet, because that's a very necessary thing. So I called my walking partner and I said, can I come to your house and get some water? And she said, sure. So we always walk at 7:30 in the morning, and I went down to her house a little bit early and gave her my jug, and she went in and she said, I don't have water. But she said, I do have some stored in the basement, so she gave me a jug of hers. And my other walking partner gave me some drinking water, so that was helpful. But I had some chores I needed to do, and it involved water, washing my raspberries, and no water.
And in fairness, those who the city thought would be impacted by this got a letter last week, including us, saying, we're turning off the water and just be prepared and have some water stored. What the city didn't realize is it affected most of the city, not just the little group that they thought it was going to. So there were a lot of people who woke up, and David also woke up to no water. He had to be at work. Tell us what he did.
They had just been camping, and he still had water in his trailer, so he went out and showered in his trailer. So that gave me some thoughts, maybe keep some water in your trailer. So that's how he solved the problem, and Mari brought me up some drinking water also. So it was really nice to have these friends that helped me out. But I thought 5-gallon jugs aren't logical for me because I live alone and I could never lift them. So I thought, I bet I could find some gallon storage jugs. So that's one thing I'm going to try to do is to find some.
And see, I think that's an awesome thing. That pointed out 2 things here. First of all is your community. And you have built your community, and so you have people that you can call on, including us, and we can lift those 5-gallon jugs. But it's also smart for you to think about having these smaller size jugs that you can manage. And we all have to do that. I'm finding that as I get older, the 6-gallon buckets are no longer easy for me to do. I can still carry them if I have to, but downsizing and getting the size that we can manage easily is much better. So tell us what else was impacted in your day yesterday?
I have some of those 50-gallon containers in my garage, and I thought, well, I've got water there. Let's see, where is the pump that I can use to get the water out? And can I get the lid off from those 50-gallon by myself? So I would probably have to depend on you or somebody to come and help me figure out how to use them. But when it first hit, and I just thought, I can't live without water. And then I thought, what happens if we have to? and even for longer than just one day.
And you make a really good point. And for the most part, I think most of us are pretty spoiled. We don't think about these things a lot because every time we open the tap, water comes out.
You know, when you face the problem, it's different than just thinking about it. When the problem's there, at first you just feel like, I can't do this. And then you start thinking, well, I can do this. But, you know, I surely don't want to have to hike down to the reservoir to get some water for every day and washing your clothes. It's really, I just really thought about it that morning. You know, how could I live without water, without being able to turn the tap?
And you make a really good point there, because water is pretty heavy. At 8.3 pounds per gallon, it's going to be pretty tough if you have to walk down to get a few gallons of water.
Even 2 gallons of water would be almost more than I could carry. To do it for, I don't know how far the reservoir is, but it's miles.
So it really pays for us to think this through now before it happens again, or before something takes us off guard. Mom, tell us about the canning jars.
Oh, I used to put peaches and pears and grape juice in half-gallon jars. And my family all left and I didn't need them anymore. So a few years ago, I just took them, put water in them and water bathed them and put them down the basement so that I'd forgotten all about them until the afternoon. And I thought, I could have just brought up one of those half-gallon jars. I can lift that. So I guess not only do we need to have it, we need to remember where it is.
And that's another good point. But having that water in the canning jars, that's high quality water.
Yeah.
It's been sealed in there. It's safe for consumption. That was an awesome thing to do. Again, it's one of those things where maybe we just have to practice a little bit, and so that we remember what we've got and where it is.
Yes.
But at least you did remember that it was there.
Yep.
So let's talk just a little bit about an action plan that you want to make so that next time it's even easier. I mean, it wasn't super hard for you this time. However, if the situation had been different, you know, and we're still without water and we don't know when it's ever coming back, let's develop an action plan that will help create a situation that'll just make it so much easier. What are some of your thoughts as far as things that you would like to do or things that we could do?
Well, I thought I ought to go down to those 5-gallon jugs and see if there's a way maybe that learn how to open the lid. I don't think they have a spout, but just see if there's a possibility there, you know, even if I could just tip it over. And I also thought with the water that's in those big barrels out in the garage, I thought I need to learn how to open them, how to access the water that's in them. Also, I wonder if the water's still good in them. Maybe I ought to open them up and see what the water looks like. So those are some things that I needed to do. And I almost felt like I ought to keep a pitcher of water in the fridge, or maybe just buy some of those drinking bottles, just the pint drinking bottles, and have at least a flat of those on hand for quick emergency water.
And I think that's a great idea. I'm not a big fan of the water bottles, but they do have their place and they do make it easy for these kinds of situations.
Yeah.
Another thing that would be super handy is like the Rockwell water, they have this Galonzo water tank and they store a lot of water in a small space. But the critical thing here is you have the ability just to open a valve on there and get water out as opposed to trying to find a pump. So,
that would be much easier for me than accessing the water in those water barrels. So that would be very handy. You could wash your hands or wash out a few clothes or whatever that you needed to do.
Another thing that I think we alluded to, but maybe we'll bring it up again, is having water kind of strategically. You talked about having a pitcher of water in the fridge. That's a great idea because that's always there and ready, but maybe having water in other places in your home. Another great idea would be just going to the store. They have these really nice gallon water jugs with a handle. They only cost, I don't know, $1.50 or something. Fairly inexpensive, but those could be placed, you know, maybe in the bathroom. You could have it in a closet, wherever that would work for you, where it would be easy, and that's something that's light enough that you could grab it and use it where you need it, but having a few of those just stored around. Another really good idea, I think, is to have some kind of a jug that would sit on the edge of your sink. with a little spigot out that you could use to wash your hands. You could use it if you just need to boil a little pot of water or something like that. And so I think that would be a really great idea, because that just makes it really easy. It's right where you're wanting to use water anyway, and you just have that jug there ready to go with a little valve that you could turn. And then also in your sink, you can have a little basin that you can capture any of that excess water, because obviously if you're washing your hands, you're not using all of that water, and that water can just fall in that basin, and that water is available for flushing toilets or some other non-potable water use that you would have. So there's a few things like that that we can do, that we can set up so that next time's even easier than this time. So I guess kind of wrapping this up, this really emphasizes how seriously we need to take our water situation, and we need to take a look at these kinds of little events and what they teach us and what we can learn from them. As an example, government officials typically say you need 1 gallon per person per day. Do you think you could live on a gallon?
I hope I don't ever have to.
I think for most of us, 2 gallons should be the minimum. By the time you think about sanitation, cooking, of course staying hydrated, which is critically important, 1 gallon a day isn't enough. And so I think it would behoove us all to remember that, to think about, okay, how can we get up to 2 gallons per person per day to help get us through these kinds of situations. Our goal then is to beef up your water situation. You've done a lot of things right, and you have a lot of resources. Maybe it's a time right now that it's time to transition to some other solutions and get this figured out so that next time we don't have any problem at all. You can just, with a smile on your face, say, I got this. Thanks, Mom, for having this discussion. I think it's educational for us and for our audience, and something that we can work on. So thanks. I love you so much. And now for the question of the day. What are you doing to make sure that you don't have a crisis when the water's not on? Share your comments with us, and thanks for being part of the solution.